My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast.
S'il vous plaît. Bonjour. Aloha. ¿Cómo está? Ni hao. Welcome.
Bienvenue. It's International Week.
It is indeed.
It's International Week. It's International Week, even though International Week. Although some people are into the national, of course, it is, well regarded in Canada by some people.
International, planetary.
Planetary, international. Why has the national in Canada never used that as a slogan? I've never understood. Anyway, catch up. Anyway, this is, of course, our podcast of the Great Canadian Bake Off, not baking show, Bake Off, and it is International Week. Now I do automatically have an axe to grind, a bone to pick.
Of course you do, because fuck.
Where was Australia?
Oh my God, we're not the only country in the world.
But the Prime Minister says we are. How good is it to be Australian?
Our Prime Minister also, attends a church that was founded by a pedophile. I don't think
Alleged blanket.
And, that is essentially a cult that fleeces people allegedly.
Alleged blanket.
Damn it.
I love the alleged blanket.
So going to be bundled into a dark van and never seen or heard from again.
To be fair.
Yes.
You said all that. I'll visit you.
You can't. I will be disappeared.
I'll visit you. Anyway, so this week is International Week. It's always interesting to see what they do with International Week, because sometimes it can feel just like an excuse to throw any three random bakes together and call them international. It's a bit like one of those, 100% hits or hits of the summer, where they literally, it's the only link when they put all on the CDs. Now, I don't know if you had these in Canada growing up. We had them here, obviously.
So fresh, summer, 97.
100% hits, volume 4, volume 5, and literally that is the only link with all of the songs on the album.
They were a hit. Whether they were a number 1 or a number 73, it didn't really matter.
I seem to remember there were a couple of early pop stylings mixed in with No Diggity by Blackstreet on one of them, and it's like that made no sense to anybody. And then there was a country song,
Amos.
And then there was a country song for the one kid. That's the first place I ever heard Kate Bush, by the way.
Really?
One of those mixed CDs, and there were all these really ultra modern songs, and at the end of the really ultra modern songs was Kate Bush's Rubber Band Girl. Which I love, by the way. But it's the first time I've heard Kate Bush. So again, I like to think of International Week as the mixed CD.
Which might introduce you to your next rubber band.
It might indeed.
Who is the next Kate Bush?
Who is the next
Let
Kate
us
Bush?
find out.
Let us find out tonight, together on this journey, as we were shown in by our delightful flight attendants.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat and ensure that your baggage is stowed correctly. Your bake-off contestants will be in front, and then some behind them, and then another one person on their own, because there's only 5 in the pavilion. There is
only 5 in the pavilion. Now, I was interested by some of the little talking heads beforehand. So first of all, we got a little bit of their personalities again, obviously. So Colin's talking head beforehand was where he talked about not playing his Filipino card. Now, I'd like to call out to fellow Filipinos out there who might be listening to this podcast. Is it laminated? Are there any discount coupons that you get with this?
Is there a class system where the elite have a black card? Oh God! Now we're talking. Okay, I'm talking about a Filipino card, and I'm talking about more the.
I know what you mean. The American Express black card. We all got what you meant.
Okay, sorry. I was just going. Oh my God! Am I sounding like I'm being racist?
No, there's the platinum card. There's the black card. The black card, by the way, the American Express black card.
Yes.
Used to arrive in an attaché, solid steel attaché case. And it was hand-delivered by 2 American Express guards.
How many did you get of them?
How many did I get? Enough for credit fraud.
For Santos El Helper.
Hey, how do you think we got out of Canada?
Oh.
Anyway.
I thought that was Leo.
Yeah, about that.
Leo El Helper.
About that. Do you really think they let the dog bet on black? Anyway, so Colin did say, I also wondered, he was talking about playing the Filipino card. Now, I misheard it the first time. I had to rewind it because I was wondering if he said, I haven't played Filipino cards. And I was wondering what sort of game Filipino cards was. And then I went, oh, no, he meant I haven't baked anything from the Philippines.
So good on him for bringing it out.
I mean, well done, well played. And look, if ever you were going to play it, this was the week to play it. And boy, did he play it. He played it like a draw 4 wild card when someone had just said Uno. Yeah, there you go. Card knowledge. Bam. What? Anyway, that's what they have. We've always said if in our family, if Uno was at a casino, I would never have left the casino.
Do you think they'd call it Ubino though, like Ubano, like it's purple, like Ube?
That would be perfect. All the cards are purple, which really reduces the need for the draw 4 wild.
So that's how you know if you're a real Filipino, because you'll know what is on that card.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is,
just interpret that purple.
Can you actually? Here's a question for you.
What?
If all the cards are purple, can you play a draw 4 wild? Because you're not allowed to play a draw 4 wild when there's cards of the colour in your hand and everyone's got purple cards. No one can play draw 4 wild. The game never ends.
I don't know. I'm not Filipino. We'll have to
ask
find out.
Colin. All right. Meanwhile, Chris just did statistical maths. And look, Chris, we love you. We really do. But
it's maths, dude.
Don't crunch numbers. We're here to watch some cake.
Like, if you're going to nerd out in the shed, just go Jasmine's style
criminology,
later on, which is no mythology.
Yeah, well, we'll get to
criminology's cool, but
trust me, the two of us will get to that. the Greek history element, the goddess element of that,
and the Greek mythology
element of it. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Okay, cool.
Right. Your boat. Well, you've come to the right podcast. Basically, that's it. You've come to the right podcast.
Yeah, we're going to not talk about it in the correct way.
That's what we're going to do. All right. So the signature. So what they were making today.
Yes.
Right. Now it's the tres leches. So tres leches.
Tres leches. And
so
it's a Mexican.
It's like dulce de leche. Like like dulce de leche is the caramel. Tres leche is the milk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did a bit of reading.
3 milks.
3 milk. Well done.
As opposed to dulce de leche.
2
milks.
Yeah, well done. Look at you.
Oh my god. Wow.
And someone will correct us and go, "No, you're wrong." And then what do you do? I say, "I don't care."
I meant it's an Italian thing, not a Mexican one that came out of my face. Or
it's Spanish.
Oh my god.
No, but that's okay because the Portuguese and the Spanish influence in Mexico means it does all blend after a while because they take elements from each other. Like, watch Ugly Delicious. You have. It's great.
Hold on, I'm just going to go pack my brain back into my ears. I cannot.
Anyway, so let's get into it. So they had 3 hours. Now, it's a sponge soaked in milk and cream. I mean, sure. Sounds good. Sounds interesting. That's a lot of milk. That's a heavy cake by the time you're done, especially if you're in Italia's. That's a really heavy cake when you're done.
See, if you're smart, you would have made an Oreo-flavoured one.
And dunk it in the milk! Why did nobody think of that?
Because you needed me with my weird brain.
3 hours you had to make this.
And if you're Australian, you can make a Milo one.
Oh, yeah, Tim Tam Slam.
Yeah.
Tim Tam Slam cake.
One.
Okay,
yeah.
So... as they said, this was a bit tricky because you needed to know the ratio of milk to put in there. And then you also needed to get the sponge right as well because the sponge needed to absorb the right amount of the milk and you needed the right ratio of milk to sponge. Right. And you've got 2 different sets of milk and then some cream. So, and you have to work out how to get it to absorb too, which as we found out with Natalia's cake is not as straightforward as you think it is.
Yes, sorry, I just Wikipedia'd everything, right?
Yes.
So the origins of the cake, the idea for creating a cake soaked in a liquid is likely of medieval origin, as similar cakes such as the British trifle and rum cake and tiramisu from Italy. But they used booze.
They did.
Yeah. So it looks like it was
the puritanical Spanish.
So these for soaked cake desserts were seen in Mexico as early as the 19th century. And Patricia Quintata, a recognised international cook and expert in Mexican gastronomy, believe it came from Sinaloa. Oh, sorry. So, and I'm not going to because that's not me being an accent person then. That's me being racist if I do a Mexican.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's the background of it. Mm-hmm. So, we got some cultures repped, finally. So, we had Colin repping Filipino.
Yeah.
We had Jasmine breaking out some Jamaican culture.
Oh, and she boozed it up.
Oh, didn't she what? There's rum. There was rum. And then Chinese was being repped, of course, by Chris as well.
3 T's.
The 3 T's.
He was a big tease.
He was.
In the pavilion.
Do you think, by the way...
Get out the grey Probably Jasmine.
No, that sounds weird now because Jasmine's also in the pavilion. So
I'm talking about teas. But Jasmine might have been down for it. She might have been like, yeah,
sure, I'll get in your cake. I'll get in your cake. Jump out of the cake. No. So Jodie. So Jodie's was a creamy caramel with the liqueur. Now the liqueur that was, booze. There was different forms of booze. Hers was a coffee liqueur, she said, originally, which came up later on, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, at this point, there was some great advice, which I think, first of all, sums up a lot of Jodie in the pavilion. And secondly, I think, just summed up a lot of the episode in general, and I think it's a really good ethos, which was one of her kids had said to her, carry on, finish strong.
Yes.
And it was great. So Aurora wrote it on the recipe with a big smiley face on it. It was really cute.
Oh, now we need those for Jodie t-shirts.
When it's shirts, carry on, finish strong. I think it's a really cool one.
I do think it's her husband though out in the backyard, kind of coaching his kids with wrestling. Oh, you broke your arm, that's right, carry on, finish strong.
Carry on, finish strong. And then that's like the promo they're cutting, Yeah. I'm going to come out there and I'm going to win that championship belt. You know why? Because I'm going to carry on, I'm going to finish strong.
You heard it here, folks.
1, 2, 3. Anyway. So Natalia's was a coffee walnut crunch with Cape gooseberry and walnuts. Now, interestingly enough, they didn't bother to talk about the Cape gooseberry whatsoever. Instead, the focus was fucking walnuts.
And coffee-ish.
But the focus of their conversation was walnut.
True.
First of all, they talked about the fact that Natalia's like, they're our favourite nut in the house. And then we got, am I your favourite nut in the house?
Yes. Maybe.
Sommy, the cat. Yeah, the cat.
We have lots of nuts.
We do.
In
We're all a bit bonkers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
depending on the phase of the moon, really.
We learnt something, however, from Bruno that I was shocked. I was shocked and appalled. Bruno, as a younger child, committed nut larceny.
Ooh.
So he said they used to go down and they'd take stones and they'd throw stones at nuts, which if you don't take that correctly, and if you don't understand the context, and there is internationally renowned chef Bruno talking to you about throwing stones at nuts.
Thinking a bit of testicular distress. Plum distress, if you will.
Plum distress, everybody. Plum distress.
Do you think it was like it was like a Stand By Me kind of thing?
Rather than on the train tracks.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that that's actually his hazing in his kitchens. So the first year apprentice out is like, it's an honour to meet you, Bruno, and I can't wait to... Oh, what was that? Oh, me plums.
Right in the nuts.
That is how we do it here in the kitchen.
Now, next lesson, peeling potatoes.
So then it became ube time.
Yes.
Now, we've had ube.
So our beautiful friends Jess and Kat got married this year, and Jess's mum is Filipino, so part of their cake was ube, and it was such the prettiest colour. Our friend Chandra made it, and it was all rainbows, it was white, but then rainbows and ube, and just...
And we've also
fucking
had...
amazing.
And it's the second time, because we've also had ube.
Oh, the ube ice cream with them when she did
they
Boodle
did the
Fight.
ube cake with ube ice cream.
Yes.
And Boodle Fight.
Oh, my God.
And right now Colin is going, yes! Yes.
Boodle Fight is awesome.
It's amazing. So
It's one of the only good things to come out of colonisation, quite frankly.
But no, it was a really awesome experience. And again, it's the colour throws you at first. But the texture's really interesting. It's a really interesting texture.
And the flavour is delightful.
And I'll come a bit more because Aurora and Carolyn had a conversation with Colin about the flavour and makes it good. Because we were interrupted by Jodie, who simply just delivered a mantra for bake-offs worldwide, which is butter makes everything better.
It is. It's a universal truth.
Except for last night in Australian Bake Off.
That butter makes everything better.
Except for last night in Australian Bake Off, which was vegan week, and butter wasn't involved in anything.
If you ask David, though, he would have said butter would have made everything better.
And you know what? I agree 100% with David. Anyway, moving on. So Natalia also unveiled her sponge cake in the oven dance. Her sponge cake in the oven dance was a lovely little shoulder shimmy that she did. And it was just really adorable. There were like these little moments. There wasn't anything in the episode that I go was big, but there were just a bunch, because this group is so close. There were just these little moments all the way through that were just so delightful.
Yeah.
And that was one of those. So Chris's cake, as we said, was a yin and yang one. with black sugar icing and candied kiwi.
Yes, it was fantastic, bro. See, keeping it international.
You
with
are
my
keeping it international.
Kiwi accent.
You know,
haven't broken that up. You wouldn't think I could wedge that into a Canadian bake-off, did you?
And there you go.
Oh, look, here comes Frodo and my friends, the hobbits. Oh, and the people from the All Blacks, like Jonas What's-His-Facey.
Jonas What's-His-Face.
And
Kristie is revealing her sporting knowledge.
my beautiful friend Jacinda Ardern. Queen of the world.
Jonas What's-His-Facey. You mean the late, great Jonah Lomu.
That's the dude. He's fantastic.
Well, he's not coming anywhere at the moment. He's been dead for a while.
What?
Yeah.
When did he die?
A couple of years ago.
Oh, that's terrible.
Kidney failure.
Oh, that's even more sad.
It was even more sad.
Oh, rest in peace, Jonah.
It doesn't really work in the Kiwi accent. So what I like though is too they called it candy kiwi. Now, if they really wanted to sort of play up the Chinese heritage as well, they could have called them Chinese gooseberries.
Yeah,
because they are Chinese gooseberries. The Kiwis stole them anyway. Which, I mean,
but no, I think it just came down to making them appealing to Australians and Westerners. You know, like, oh, we can't call this like friggin' I don't know, something in the Chinese language, because white people in the 1950s, their heads would explode.
It would. Anyway, he went with 3 different kinds of tea, but they never told us what 3 types of tea were.
That's why I was guessing.
I know, but that was the thing for me.
That's why I think one of them might have been jasmine.
It would have been because of the delicate
and then
flavours.
Possibly a green tea.
If somebody could out there,
do you reckon the other one's matcha? Do you reckon that's why they censored it?
Okay.
Then you would come to your delicate ears.
Okay. I would like somebody who is in the know.
Maybe an oolong. That's more like it.
I want somebody in the know to tell us what the 3 teas were, unless it was matcha. If it was matcha, don't tell me what the
just
teas
lie.
were. I don't want to. Don't encourage. Yeah, don't encourage the audience. All right, they don't.
I'm
need
not
that.
telling them to lie about matcha. I'm telling them to lie if it's matcha.
So is it worrying that my
I'm
first?
your wife.
Is it
and
worrying that my
protecting
first
you.
instinct was that you were telling everyone, telling them it's matcha?
Because that would be bad, Kristie. And for a moment, you've got good Kristie here. So
Yay!
enjoy.
Excellent, wonderful. I'm enjoying that moment. All right, so Jasmine. Now, Jasmine's was I cannot remember how to pronounce this for the life of me. Jasmine, ponche de creme, I think it was, with lime whipped cream, and more importantly, fuck that, there was rum in the liquid.
Yar.
I don't need to cover the rest of it. Rum in the liquid. That's literally all was in.
And our dog Leo's really excited about that.
Into
He's
the
a rum bandit.
He's into the rum in the liquid. So
if we weren't such responsible pet owners, we'd be giving in to his love of rum.
Yeah, we're not giving in to it. We refuse to be kowtowed.
That's why he's perpetually barking, "Where's my rum, bitches?"
We refuse to be kowtowed by the rum industry.
There, where's my rum? I'm a pirate dog. Yar.
Look, the big problem is...
What?
Well, after we got him back from
He's
Canada...
a scurvy sea dog.
No, after we got him back from Canada, he developed a bit of a taste for poutine, and he can't get good quality poutine.
No.
So
there's a poutine van near my work.
Yeah, they used to actually have a shop in the shopping centre near us, and then they abandoned that.
Well, because it's expensive.
It is. They've got a
You're
truck
just
instead.
selling poutine.
But literally, they're just called La Poutine, which, let's face it, it's not really
La
that good.
Poutine.
Anyway, so Carolyn and Aurora then sampled the ube, which was great because I think it was Carolyn turned around and went, "It's potato-y, but not in a dinner way. It's like an after-dinner way." And Colin looked at them and went, "You mean like a dessert?"
But it's not that far a stretch. I mean, sweet potato pie is a thing. Pumpkin pie is a thing.
It's a very real thing. It makes
They
perfect
become
sense.
sweet.
And then it was time to soak your cakes. Now, everyone had a different way of doing this. Now, Jodie's was the let's just pour it all over. Chris was poking holes in it to make sure it got in there.
Jodie poked holes too. She was just like random poking.
Natalia went with the brush, which left it a bit spotty because it didn't get the right covering, and that came up in the judging a bit later on.
I really felt that they needed to go similar to a rum barber, just set up a little jacuzzi full of liquid, just
the rum
settle
barbers,
the cake right in.
Look, the Great Australian Bake Off rum barber cook was one of my favourites for those sorts of bits and pieces. Absolutely brilliant. If you're in Canada and haven't seen it, I do suggest finding the footage and watching everyone work out if you poke a hole in your rum barber or not. It's fascinating. The answer, by the way, no. Don't poke a hole in your rum barber.
But poke a hole in your bubba.
Don't poke a hole in your bubba. We found that out.
It sounds like a bad country song. Don't poke a hole in your bubba.
All right.
He won't cut your hair anymore.
Shit. Oh, God. So, while the bakers were soaking their cakes and fretting...
I poked my baba with a bullet fired from my gun.
And Kristie was singing.
Sorry, keep going.
Carolyn and Aurora finally indulged in something that I've been waiting for a while. They finally got into the main perk of hosting the Great Canadian Bake Off.
And Carolyn was in there with gusto.
The eating. And they went around and they were eating everything in sight. And one of my highlights was when Carolyn went over to Jodie's and she's grabbed it and go, oh, yum, that's like a cake I had when I was a child. And Jodie's like, I hope not, it's full of coffee liqueur. And Carolyn's like, that's why.
Look, we've all had liqueured stuff when we shouldn't have as kids.
I mentioned this the other day on the podcast, the Anton Berg chocolates.
Yes,
I used to literally crack those open and drink them.
We'd get into Mum's cherry liqueurs. My sister would do what you guys did, crack the top off and just drink it like a drink first.
They're looking at me going, are you finished with those chocolates? I'll tell you when I've had enough. Show me the way to go home. I'm hyper because the chocolate's really thick. So Jodie sort of finished it off when she was trying to layer her cake at the end there, and she's trying to get it off the spatula, and she's like, just give it a little jiggle, give it a little jiggle. So Jodie had a lot of mantras for this episode. We had the soothing ones, and then we had the just give it a little jiggle.
Yes.
So the judging.
Give it just a little jiggle, and your cake will surely soak.
Well done.
Yeah.
So, Chris, the presentation was beautiful. They said the layers were even. It looked dry on the outside, but they cut it, and Kyla was very quick to go, no, this is actually really moist. And then she said to Bruno that the 3 teas blended perfectly, and Bruno agreed. Again, nobody told us what the fuck the teas were. That's the one bit of information I would really have liked out of this.
Censored it because they knew you'd go postal.
So Jasmine,
2 nights of matcha in a row might have just sent you.
I couldn't have coped.
Mate.
So
just go something.
Go crazy. Don't mind if I do. So Jasmine, they said that she made 5 beautiful layers. She went 5 layers, but it wasn't soft enough. It hadn't soaked through, and that was part of the problem. 5 layers. Natalia, they said it was a great presentation and it was a heavy cake. And they said to her, did you pour? And they went, I brushed it. And she went, yeah, it's inconsistent. It's a bit spotty with how it soaked through.
Because Bruno would have gone, you've got to pour some liquid on the cake in the name of soaking.
Colin, they said they absolutely loved the visual, and again, we need to speak to Colin's piping. The piping of the purple and white around the outside. And
gorgeous.
Again, visually it is a stunning cake, just in general. But with that piping, it was really good. The texture and the moisture was perfect, and Bruno wanted to specifically tell Colin's mum that Colin had made a really good cake, and he was thrilled. He's like, my mother will be so happy to hear that.
I'd like to think that Bruno goes back to his desk after the filming and pulls out his stationery, it says...
From the desk of Bruno.
Yeah. From the desk of Bruno. And he's, dear Mrs. Colin, it's mum, I am writing to say, your son... he cooked a good cake. No, not good. Superb. Yours faithfully, Bruno.
And just the O stretches into the distance. So, and if you listen to this, Bruno, please come on the show.
Sort out my accent.
Yeah, sort out the accent for Kristie at the very least. Look, we don't have to talk about baking. We don't have to talk about anything that you don't want to talk about. We literally just need to sort this accent out. Jodie's, they said it was a great presentation. It fully absorbed the right balance of moisture and cream. It was absolutely perfect, and the textures were great. And this started one of my favourite trends, which was Jodie's little happy dances.
Yes, Jodie did good.
Okay, so let's get ready for the technical.
Hold on, we should call her tonight Jodie.
That's a good call, Jodie. So, the technical. Now, the technical was Norwegian.
Indeed it was.
Kransekake.
I think you'll find we all like a good kransekake in Norway.
Your accents are uncanny.
It's infallible.
That is the best Tanzanian I've ever heard.
Big Kransekake
Massive.
fans.
They are
in Tanzania.
bandits for a
Does
Kransekake.
Tanzania still exist?
Yes. Anyway.
Or is it Tanzania? Oh.
Anyway, we'll move on from that. Don't worry
The geography is
don't
as good
worry
as the
about
accents.
don't worry about the existence or non-existence of Tanzania for the moment, all right?
Tanzania, that's it. Tanzania.
So Tanzania
I had
Tanzania sounds like something in Warner Brothers that like Bugs Bunny would go to.
one of my most prized possessions in my stamp collection
I can't wait to see this link.
were dinosaur stamps from Tanzania, which I'd call Tanzania. Otherwise, you're calling it Tasmania. So Tasmania. Tasmania. Is that what Tasmania is supposed to be? Tasmania?
Tanzania is still a country, by the way. It hasn't changed.
Excellent.
I was wondering if it was one of those ones that had changed its name. As a geography teacher occasionally, I figured I was right. But you made me second guess myself. Not that it was Tanzania. You made me second guess myself that it had changed its name to one of the Republic of the Tanis. Anyway, they do those things. Anyway, what these Kransekakes are stacked towers of sticky almond rings. They are gluten-free as well. So, you know, wonderful. And also, apparently, what they didn't bother to mention, but was all over it, little tiny Norwegian flags. So many tiny Norwegian flags.
You know when you go to Norway and they just coat all their national dishes in little flags?
Now,
Can't help it.
Now, this brings back... Now, again, people from Canada will never have heard of this person and probably won't even get this joke, but this is for about the 3 people in the world that get it.
Uh-huh.
Whenever I see a small flag, you know, those little tiny toothpick flags, I always go back to a joke by Barry Humphries' Sir Les Patterson. And he used to do this thing. Sir Les Patterson was his international ambassador at large, and he was a grotesque character. So it was like he represented the worst of the worst in ambassadors and stuff. So big puffy red face, he was rude, he was nasty, he was sexist, he's just this
basically
prick.
Boris Johnson and Trump.
Basically Johnson and Trump.
You know what? ScoMo to throw
The problem is he wouldn't be a parody nowadays. It would be accurate. He'd be a member of one of those. But anyway,
Donald Trump would send him a cease and desist letter.
And Donald Trump would send him a want to come over and have an evening over at my place letter.
My friend Harvey is also coming.
Exactly. So anyway, what happened was that Sir Les used to do this joke about the Australian cheese board. And he'd talk about, he'd pull a bit of brie out of his pocket, just wrapped in a tissue, and hand it to whichever television host he was doing the interview with and wouldn't tell them. So, like, he'd sit down and go, here, my hand's a bit smelly here, and hand them, like, brie out of his pocket. And he'd go, that's something from the Australian cheese board. I sit on the cheese board, as a matter of fact, and I can tell you that's a bit uncomfortable. All those tiny little flags get up your ass. And it was just, to this day, it is grotesque. It is not the sort of thing I would normally laugh at. But the way he delivers it and the way this ridiculous character delivers it is hilarious. And every time I see a toothpick flag, that's what I think of. So with the Kransekake, all I could think of was Sir Les Patterson.
See, now I'm going to tell you what I think of, and I'm going to link it to last week.
Ooh.
The little flags. Do you recall a creme caramel ad back in the 80s? And they'd go, creme caramel. And they'd put like a French flag on one and an Australian flag on the other. And when the person tasted the Australian one, they worked out that was better. And so the little French flag would like go down
half-mast. Yeah, well, who would have known toothpick flags were going to be the point of discussion tonight? Anyway, but I did notice, and the other one is, I didn't see Colin put them all on, but by the time Colin had finished, it looked like the Norwegians had colonised his whole thing.
They've all left Oslo just to go up there and claim his Kraken crass. What's Kraken?
Kransekake. Kraken cars. It was like everybody
climbing his Kraken sack.
It was like everyone inside the pavilion, though, because nobody could, A, had ever heard of it, and B, say it. And, like, even Natalia, who's pretty good with this sort of stuff, not even close. No, couldn't get there.
And you know what? It would go, you could wash before, okay, if you're doing a Norwegian feast, you could serve that up after their national dish, which is farikal, or farik, I don't know. I give up on my Norwegian. It's a mutton stew, essentially.
Oh, mutton stew. Doesn't that sound nice, everybody?
Mutton. Who's got the mutton?
It's mutton dressed as mutton.
You know who even hadn't cooked it?
Who?
Jasmine. And as we all found out tonight, something I'm sure we've all done in our youth, just written a dodgy blog.
Yeah, so there is a dodgy baking blog.
Called Lick It. Now, if you...
I licked it.
Okay, I just want to make...
It's called I Licked It.
I licked it, okay. I want to put out a public service announcement. If you Google Jasmine...
I Licked It.
I Licked It... Great Canadian Bake-Off, or even just baking show.
It doesn't come up with what you think.
Very not safe for work, people. There is one mention of Great Canadian Bake-Off in amongst a lot of things that I don't think Disney would be happy with.
Polite society.
Apparently Aladdin showed her a world.
He took her wonder by wonder. Anyway, moving on. So Colin thought that the Kransekake looked like a donut or a beehive. The beehive's actually not too far off it after all that. So Kyla, however, can pronounce it, and this is justifying her whole appearance on the series.
Yeah, she's adding some dignity and class.
It almost feels like they got Kyla in and went, right, well, she can say Kransekake, done. Right.
Now, we're tossing up between these three bakers. You know, we've got Kyla, we've got...
A couple of other...
She can pronounce Kransekake.
Done.
She's in.
So, crispy outside, crispy outside, soft inside, chewy inside, 18 rings. Not a follow-up album from Ariana Grande. Just want to point that out and make that perfectly clear.
What was her album called?
I think it's 9 rings. Anyway, now you've devastated me by making me dip too far into pop culture.
But you're a social, society and culture teacher. You should be swimming in this shit. You're hanging out with teenagers all day.
So
you should know what's
7 rings, not 9 rings. I gave it 2 extra rings. Well, the word ring comes up a lot in this, so just settle. Now, Colin then tried to pronounce Kransekake to the point where it sounded like the freestyle coming up on the latest release by Polite Disagreement, probably only their Norwegian EP.
Yeah, I feel that this was the kind of break in between a lot of Norwegian death metal.
Has to be.
Just calling it...
Kransekake. So...
Kransekake.
So the measurements were left off for salt and the different types of extract that were needed. Of course they were. Unlike Australian the other night where they went, this bake's really hard, and as a result, we've given you everything.
Everything. You got it all.
So at this point, they did say that the moulds existed to help size your rings.
I've told you my prolapse stories already. I'm not going there.
We're not going there. And she's talking about as a nurse. I want to make that crystal clear.
Not just what I do.
Moving on. So they also then told them to make royal icing. Nothing else. No other instructions. So you either knew how to make...
last night on Vegan Week.
You either knew how to make royal icing or you didn't know how to make royal icing.
Looked like they all knew how to make it.
No, exactly.
Not all of them knew how to pipe it in such a short amount of time.
Now, I fear where this next sentence is going with Kristie next to me, but we'll see how we go. Jasmine and Natalia's rings both collapsed.
They didn't like it. They couldn't put a ring on it. See, you thought I was going to go smutty and I didn't.
No, well done. Although I felt for poor Natalia. She was trying to put them together like a jigsaw. But the problem was that she'd pulled them out of the moulds first and gone, oh no, this is all falling apart and been dramatic. And then had to try to reassemble the bits. And I can almost hear in her head going, I should have just left them where they were. I could have done this so much faster than that. And Colin, however, burnt his.
See, what I'm disappointed is you can tell it's a Norwegian cake and not a Swedish cake. So if it was a Swedish cake, there would have been clear instructions and an Allen key.
Yeah. Allen keys would have been the thing.
They're like their Scandinavian brethren, Norway. You've got to assemble it. But the
Swedes are far more efficient.
Yeah.
Far more efficient. And you would have had 3 bits left over and you would not have known what they were for. Ever. Now, Jodie got to the end and realised that her whole thing was upside down. that all of the rings were upside down. Now, Chris worked this out after 2. Jodie got the whole thing done, then went, I think this is upside down.
She was doing it blackboard style, Mr. Squiggle style.
Upside down. All right, so the judging. Colin, he had 18 of them, but they were inconsistent. The icing was really good and the flavour was well balanced. The almond also wasn't overpowering, but one of the problems was there was no lemon. And the lemon was more lemon was needed.
Yep.
Jasmine, they said she needed more height, she needed more rings because she was running low and didn't actually have enough on there. The texture was good and the flavour needed, again, more lemon. Jodie's was built in reverse. The bake was good, it was just upside down.
She's just channeling Tim, what's his face here, look where you want to go,
look where you want to go, look where you want to go. Tim Danter from World's Worst Driver.
Yeah.
So, Natalia, it was overcooked, unfortunately, but the flavour was still really good. And Chris, the piping looked rushed, they said. The cookie was perfectly baked. Great flavour.
He was quite heavily penalised for that poor icing work.
He really was.
It's like he could have been first.
So Jasmine came 5th, Natalia came 4th, Colin came 3rd, Chris came 2nd, and Jodie came 1st. And we got more of a Jodie squee dance.
Jodie!
I think I wrote in my notes, her joy is palpable. Mm-hmm. It's good to use the word palpable from time to time. This brings us to the Showstopper. Now, the Showstopper was...
Like a bit of cheese.
Oh, I like some cheese.
Yep.
Oh, I really like some cheese.
They should have put some little flags in it.
They should have. Gets tricky. Flags up your ass. Anyway, cheesecakes of the world. Yes. You had 4 hours to make a cheesecake.
Yep.
I mean... I'm not going to lie, that felt like a long time.
But they weren't just like your average cheesecakes, they're not your Sara Lee out of the freezer.
Well, you're not making those for a start.
No.
But, no.
I mean, what I would have done is my friend made a baklava cheesecake. Oh my God, that was, I mean, it's not traditionally Lebanese, but they were after a traditional cheesecake.
So, Natalia was making a Russian cheesecake. Now, I feel like when Natalia uses Russian words, that Sean Connery needs to say them. I'm going to channel the Queen of Accents here. Ah, yes. Zapakanka. Welcome to Amsterdam. So, it does feel like a Bond villain. So, Zapakanka. So, it feels like a Bond villain has arrived. She also had a sugarwork fruit bowl. Pumpkin orange puree in the middle layer, and the bottom layer was dried fruit.
Yum.
And she said that the whole name of the cake in Russian actually means just baked cottage cheese. Then there was a bit of a conversation about cottage cheese as a snack.
I'm okay with it if you've got stuff to go with it.
Yeah, there's a bit like this dunking fruit in cottage cheese.
There's just not a lot of cottage cheese action these days.
It just doesn't feel to me like it's a little bit like, for those who listen to the Great Australian Bake Off series, it's a bit like when we talked about Sunny and her snack.
With the
date.
The date and the raspberry.
The single date with the single raspberry.
Peanut butter
and the cocoa nibs.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel hearty. It felt...
The cottage cheese really...
It felt like one of the mum's nets.
No, it's Weight Watchers sadness. It's 80s Weight Watchers, which allowed 11-year-olds to be taken to them. Not that I'm going to go into my own story, where it's kind of like, if you're feeling a bit peckish, whack some cottage cheese on some celery.
My grandfather used to try the cottage cheese route and it never worked.
It's like, I'm going to have this stuff that tastes essentially like
boiled cheese, so therefore there's no flavour.
On celery, which is basically water and roughage.
Hi, I'm going to have water.
And roughage.
Have you had water and roughage today?
No.
No? Why don't you have more water and roughage? Anyway, so now Jodie made a tropical Italian cassata. My God, it looked amazing. Coconut sponge, marzipan, candied fruit, and again, far more importantly, coated in rum. Big Rum was in the pavilion this week.
Oh, wasn't it just? Or do you think it was Big Pirate? Look, we haven't been big on the high seas for ages, It's just our Nigerian brethren, that are really, the Somalis are really keeping it for us.
So what we need to do is
what we got to do, you scurvy dogs, is get in there. What's popular these days? Bake-Off's pretty good. Right, but we don't want it in England because that's just England. How about Canadian? Oh, that's a good idea. How can we get them? With rum. Yes, we'll buy them with rum.
Big Pirate. So Big Pirate is apparently a thing inside that pavilion. And look, they need to weed that out because Big Pirate won't play nice after a while.
No. Be all shivering of your timbers and walking the plank.
And now let's get to the moment that we've both been waiting for. So Jasmine was making 2 cakes.
Indeed.
Now, the 2 cakes were in an ode, a tribute, to Demeter.
Indeed. One of the wonderful goddesses of the Greek pantheon.
It's probably the first time I think we've seen a cake officially dedicated to one of the Mount Olympus 12.
Yes, and not just me just saying it's dedicated.
Yeah, not just you saying it's dedicated or not just being full of booze and therefore Dionysus going, sweet!
And just having to say sponde every time you take a bite. Jasmine will get that joke.
Indeed she will.
She just keeps getting awesomer. It's kind of like... Oh, I know the end is not what we wanted tonight, Jasmine, but, still an awesome chickie. And, it's like, oh, she's criminology. Oh, she's a baker. That's so cool. Oh, she's a funny chick. And then...
she's Trudy Judy.
She's Trudy Judy. And then, she did
Judy.
a course on Greek mythology.
So we forgot to mention last week, we did forget to mention that we forgot to give Jodie a character. We forgot to give Jasmine a character. So she's Judy. She's
Trudy Judy.
Trudy Judy. We'll put that out. Trudy Judy. We started negotiations at Cheddar, and worked our way forward from there.
Melipnos was mentioned.
I mentioned Melipnos. She counted with Trudy Judy, and that's where we stuck. So we've lost Trudy Judy. Anyway, so orange and pistachio cake and fig and honey.
Yep.
And what I really loved was she rang her classics professor for clarification on which goddess she should dedicate the cakes to.
I mean, it makes sense because you're using flour, you're using the grain. So, yes, Demeter is correct. You could also go Kore or Persephone, but mostly Kore if, you're got seeds and stuff in it because that's kind of her domain. Technically, Demeter is the goddess of... of fertility, and Kore is the actual seed. Or you could just booze the shit out of it, and Dionysus there, just get angry and punch it, and they got Aries. Have it be an adulterous lech.
How do you have cakes become adulterous leches?
I don't know. I'm not a baker. I'll leave it to the baking people.
You're like, I'll just be the ideas woman. The bakers, they're the real talent.
It doesn't take any one particular form because it can transform into anything. You're like a swan, a golden shower.
2 cakes.
2 cakes.
Who knows? Literally, you can just bake 2 cakes and say, there it is.
Yes. But when you're doing, I think Demeter is the safe bet because you are using flour,
Made perfect sense.
Made from wheat.
So, Chris.
Her symbol.
So, Chris was making a strawberry mojito cheesecake.
Do you think Jasmine's first bake then could have been dedicated to Persephone because there's blood oozing out of it, or Hades even? Yeah,
probably Hades. Anyway, okay, Chris's strawberry mojito cheesecake existed and was really cool. He used that Japanese style where it's like a souffle. So I really like those cakes. I'm not going to lie. I am a bandit for a really good souffle style cheesecake.
Yep.
I have been determined to make one, but I am just not going to do that because, as Chris even pointed out, those sort of cakes, you're terrified to close the door of the oven or, talk because any bump and the whole thing just goes and falls in on itself.
In our house, you've got unpredictable cats.
Yeah.
A dog who just goes crazy and a wife who'll just come dancing through the house singing to Lizzo or something.
Frequently, all the time. It does make it fun. So, unfortunately, Jasmine burnt her cakes. Chris, on the other hand, hadn't cooked his properly.
I think she may not have done enough to kind of
hadn't made the right offerings.
And not to Demeter, but more to I'm thinking Apollo, maybe Hephaestus. I'm trying to think of Vulcan, with the fire kind of aspect of it. Just maybe Hester.
Yep.
First and the last. I hope she might have overlooked.
Well, she was originally
the hearth fire.
She was originally going to dedicate the cake to Hester.
Hester's revenge. She's like, I am the hearth. The first and the last will all have the last laugh and burn your cake.
So she was going to, because she said before she was going to dedicate it originally to Hester, and then she rang her classics professor and went, no, it's a Demeter cake. It's definitely Demeter.
But even when, okay, so I'm going to nerd out, right?
Go for it.
Okay, so when you're doing Hellenic recreationism, anything you do, even if you're doing a ritual to, say, Aphrodite or whoever, you still, at the beginning, mention Hester because she is the first and the last, because she was the first to be born and then she was the last to be reborn. So, yeah.
There you go.
Just saying.
There you go, just saying.
There we go.
So,
back at the ranch.
Unfortunately, Jasmine can't unburn her cakes, but Chris can put his back in the oven, which is exactly what he did. Now, Colin turns around to the camera suddenly and goes, let's make cookies! Because you had to decorate it, and Colin's decision to decorate it was to do a Flora from Great British Bake Off a couple of seasons ago and bake an entirely new dish.
I'll put cookies here. What we didn't see was the meringue that was like the meringues that was sitting behind the meringue.
Crock and bush it was sitting on top of. Anyway, so he was making cookies for decoration. Unfortunately, as I said in the judging, a bit too thick. Jasmine was making corn from marzipan, which was fucking awesome.
Yes.
And like she turned around to Colin, would you like some corn? He goes, no, not now, maybe later. And then did a double take and went, is that marzipan? And she goes, yeah, it's a marzipan. Now, Jodie built the outside wrap for her cake inside the pan, and then when I'm going to put the cake inside there, so I'll put the wrap in there, then I'll put the cake in there and build the cake in there, and then like it'll seal up. And it did.
Like every other time we've seen people try and do this technique, it fails.
It's the first time in Bake Off I've seen it work.
Well done, Jodie. She was blessed. She obviously paid tribute to Hester.
First and the last. Chris's skewer was clean the second time, so his cake was done, but then he suddenly realised he had no time left and had to coat it with something, so he just poured strawberry over the top of it.
Should have thrown bacon at it, Chris.
Should have thrown bacon at it, that's the answer. Now, I liked it when Jasmine's cake started cracking as well. She's like, no, it's from antiquity. It's an ancient cake. It's a slab.
Look, this is a cake we've retrieved from Pompeii.
Well, again, one of my favourite artefacts found at Pompeii
is a loaf of bread.
Is the bread from the oven. That's one of my favourite things. She could have just sold it like that.
I'm really looking forward to going to Pompeii and Herculaneum with you.
And at the tail end of this, Jodie hand poured a pineapple.
Oh my God.
Everyone freaked the hell out. I know. And when they all came over at the end and went, well, how did you do that pineapple? She goes, I just hand poured that. And everyone went, what?
I just like to think that for years she'd just been randomly pouring goo into pineapple shapes.
And suddenly it paid off.
It pays off. So
that then leads us to the judging. But before the judging, Jodie has just finished an amazing sugarwork pineapple.
Uh-huh.
You know where you might be able to get ideas like that?
Would it be Australian Sugarcraft magazine?
It would indeed. It would be Australian Sugarcraft magazine. And
here to talk about Australian Sugarcraft magazine is our favourite Norwegians. That would be Lordy.
They're from Finland.
Then it would be the Bobby Socks.
Well done.
Hello, we are the Bobby Sharks. Welcome to this beautiful podcast where we've just popped in. Yes, you can't tell the difference between our voices because we sing together, we eat together, we live together, we just do everything together, including Eurovision and winning it. So, we wanted to talk to you about if you're looking for a quality magazine focused on cake decorating and sugar art, Australian Sugarcraft is the magazine for you. It's a full-colour digital magazine with step-by-step tutorials, recipes, tips and ideas. Subscription is an annual cost of $19.90 Australian and you receive 2 issues per year. Go to facebook.com/Australian Sugarcraft for more information.
Hard rock, hallelujah! Mr. Lordy, no, that's for Finland.
Oh, okay. See you later. I can't get out. My wings are stuck.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Why do we have Eurovision entrance everywhere in this house again?
Because it's fun. Conchita's just upstairs taking a bath.
Oh,
I've got Ruslana maybe in my bedroom.
I can hear the stomping upstairs. I can tell you that for a minute. Go away, wild dancers. Anyway, let's get this. Oh God, hang on a minute. Where's Salvador?
I'm just here.
Someone quick, close the door so we can't come in. Okay, done. Good. So judging. So Natalia,
Yes.
The sugar work was nice. The marble effect in the cake was absolutely beautiful. The cheese was really delicate. They said that the bottom cake with the fruit was firmer, but as a result, it was also a bit on the dry side. And they said you might want to have put more fruit in there. But she did say it was dried fruit. How would dried fruit in the bottom add to the moistness? I can't understand that.
Look, if you're like my mum, right? Okay, so she'd make, in the olden days, make a fruit cake for every Christmas. Now, usually she'd soak the fruit, about a month out. Beginning of December, she'd throw it in. Well, October rocked around one year and she's going, fuck it, I'm just going to start soaking it now.
How many days was it before people could drive?
I think it began to ferment. Additional fermentation was taking place on top of the fridge. I just remember this red plastic, see-through bowl, just with this. And I think she kept adding a bit of booze to it every now and again. So
that's terrifying.
Feeding the fruit.
So, Chris, they said that the cream, unfortunately, was melting on top. Now, Bruno really got, because they talked about the fact that the cake was really cool and the cake was great, the ricotta was a great choice, but Bruno really wasn't happy with him in terms of, he just looked at him and said, that does not take you 4 hours to make.
No.
Like, the timing was wrong.
When you're just doing an alphabet with your cream, it's not cool.
No, defying gravity. Yeah.
No, what a world.
No, melting,
she technically wasn't.
Yes.
Anyway,
she wasn't Elphaba at that point. Anyway, let's not get into wicked backstories. Anyway, Jasmine, the cheesecake unfortunately looked overbaked. The figs were well distributed, and you always know when they get to the figs are well distributed, there's problems. They said the centre of the cake was lovely. Unfortunately, the outside was burnt and it killed the flavour.
I do really appreciate their ability to find all the positives, though.
I love it. They've done really
cool.
well. Colin, his piping skills were, again, fantastic, and they said he had used his time well. The cookies were a bit thick. They did say the outer layer of the cake was crunchy, which was a really good thing, and they said the cassava actually worked as a flavour, and they were a bit surprised by that.
I mean, technically, it's like a Filipino poutine cake.
It is.
Because it's got the cassava, potatoiness.
And the cheese.
So it's a poutine. Poutine cake.
He cheated. He made a Canadian cake. Anyway, and Jody, now, they said this was a great use of the time. Mm-hmm. It was a classic Italian dessert. Kyla absolutely loved the pineapple. It cut beautifully. The creaminess of the ricotta was lovely. And Bruno's best thing he said was, I can't give a good reason to stop eating it. And he said it's like you would see in Milan. It was like you would see in any major Italian city. So Jody wins Star Baker, runs down the line, high-fiving everybody, and was really excited because we didn't mention this, but Jasmine has been making a trophy for everybody for Star Baker. So there's a little Star Baker trophy that Jasmine had made and was giving to people every week.
So what's going to happen?
And they went, was there a big ceremony? She goes, I'll just throw it at them. No, there you go.
Breakfast happens, just eating a piece of toast, just like boom on your plate.
And unfortunately,
happy Star Baconness.
And unfortunately, we lose Jasmine. And we are really cut up about losing Jasmine.
I adore her. I think she's so awesome.
We're in a problem at the moment, though, whereas
everyone who goes,
it is literally what we refer to as kill your darlings, because it's just like it's
been like that since week one, really.
Really, it's been one of those series where you don't get to a week and go, oh yeah, no,
oh that's right,
definitely time for that person. No, it's like, oh come on.
Crawl into a fetal position and just,
It's been, again...
stare into the abyss.
They talked about it, and Kyla talked about it tonight. It's true. The standard of baking has been ridiculously high. Redonkulously ridiculous. Yes. So, that's kind of the end of your podcast for this week. Now, hopefully, we've lined things up. Fingers crossed that the ether is kind and the time gods are kind. Which Greek god should I be praying to?
Dionysus.
Thank you. Great.
Just because that's who he works for.
So we will.
Otherwise, you'll be talking to Kronos.
Fingers crossed. This weekend.
Yeah.
Liam.
That would be awesome.
So
fresh from the wood nymphs.
Yeah, as long as he's back from obviously his woodland retreat. And then hopefully, who knows, might be on the show. Who knows? It could be anyone, maybe Jasmine, possibly. Who knows?
That would be so awesome.
That would be wonderful.
Come on that podcast, Jasmine. Come on that podcast.
Anyway, yes, exactly. So until next week, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We will catch you all then.
I can't do an accent.